Raw on Netflix Fallout. I'm Will. That's Brandon. We're the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling podcast. As always, let's cheers. Talk about some wrestling, huh?
Ooh. Yeah, Raw on Netflix Fallout. Felt like an end to a few stories. We also didn't get some of the people I maybe expected, or maybe a prime position for some of the people.
Yeah.
So what do we think is going to happen now?
Yeah, basically, there was a lot of questions after this first Raw on Netflix. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Let's get right into it, though. I wanted to get right into it with kind of chronologically how the night went. First guy we saw, other than Triple H, of course, was Mr. Dwayne Johnson. He walked out. He did what most of them did on Monday and promoted Netflix, promoted Raw, did the whole, did that promotional shtick. Mm-hmm. He wasn't in kayfabe. Let's put it that way. He was carrying a belt, wasn't in kayfabe. Mm-hmm. So we have a few questions though, because Wednesday he comes out on NXT and he goes, or Tuesday on NXT, he comes out and he says, talking about how people were hating on him when he was mean to Cody, and now people are hating on him when he's nice to Cody. And he told everybody to know their role, shut their mouth, and enjoy the ride that the final boss is taking us on. So that insinuates that maybe he may be coming back and doing some stuff. But what is this? What is The Rock doing? Is he Dwayne Johnson? Is he the final boss? Is he back to being The Rock? He was kind of doing the face stuff on Raw, but then he turned around and kind of alluded to the heel stuff on NXT. So what's next for The Rock? Are we going to see him at the Rumble? Are we going to see him at Mania? What's up here?
Yeah, this is maybe the most confusing out of everybody, I would say, at least, because you talk about Raw on Netflix and you're like, man, we really didn't get any of that. But then he kind of leaned into it a little bit, but then it's also like, you look at the time frame, we're at the beginning of January. We've got 3.5 months, or about 100 days roughly till Mania. So it's like, how much would we get? Is it too crammed? I'm starting to think that we're not going to get anything at Mania now at The Rock. If we do, it might be something small. I don't think it's going to be big. I don't think we're going to get maybe what we kind of thought, and maybe SummerSlam time, maybe we start to get something else again. I feel like we're just running out of time to get anything of substance.
Yeah, I mean, a few months ago, the rumors came out that he wasn't going to work WrestleMania 41 and most of the IWC, because we totally know what The Rock's doing with his life. We were like, oh no, that's bogus. He's definitely going to work at WrestleMania. Well, I'm kind of leaning with you on this one. Netflix, when he walked out on Netflix, it didn't feel like he was ready to come back and get back into the swing of wrestling and put the character shoes back on. Anything can happen. It felt like we're never going to get the answer to whatever the hell Bad Blood was. The 1, 2, 3 count. I guess that's just up in the air. I don't know what goes on there. I don't know if somehow, some way, we're still going to end up with Rock Roman. And the reason that is in my head is because he did come out and crown him with the Ulafala. And I feel like that had to be a story beat of some sort, right? Like, they wouldn't have him do that for no story reason. That's a big moment.
Yeah, I would agree there. I think that the Rock Roman stuff, as much as we talked about how we kind of want that kind of maybe to wrap up, or we get that at this Mania, I'm starting to think that maybe we get, when I say Rock not at Mania, I don't think he's in a prominent role. Like, I think we get an appearance of some sort of, not maybe Bad Blood bad, where it's like, oh, you just came out, you didn't do anything, but we get something that kind of builds towards next year's Mania with him and Roman. I think that there's too much to kind of uncover here to really say there's nothing that's going to happen. Like, there's too many question marks. Something's got to happen. I just don't think it's going to happen at Mania
this year.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a whole long time for a lot of questions. I still think there's some involvement there with Solo, him and Paul, or there's something there still, and you're kind of running out of time. I think that Solo personally has to deal with some other stuff first, so I guess we'll get there eventually when we get there, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, let's just walk right into that one because of all of it. Roman now has the Ulafala. That's what big moment to start Raw on Netflix. The first big plot point of the night was Roman defeats Solo, finally gets the Ulafala. We talked about it a little bit in our review, but it feels definite, like finished. Like, we have Roman won the War Games match. Roman's now won the Tribal Combat match. It feels like business is settled between the family members in that one. What does Roman do now that he has a Ulafala? Now that he's back to being the Tribal Chief? He never got a rematch for that championship. Are we going to pivot and turn Roman Cody round 3? Are we going to pivot to something with Kevin Owens? Because Kevin Owens did jump him during the match. People kind of forget about that. So what's next for Roman?
Yeah, what's next for Roman? I think it's some, well-deserved time off is always,
Again?
Again. What's next for Roman Reigns? Cover athlete announcement is probably the correct, definite answer. In terms of storyline after that, I'm going Drew McIntyre. I'm starting to pivot, and I really think him versus Drew is going to be the Mania match that at least I know I want to see. Now, do they pull the trigger on that? I don't know, but that's what I want to see. Drew McIntyre has steadily started to take out, or has been taking out, original Bloodline members. He didn't get the upper hand on Jay, which I think is very interesting. I don't think that that's over. I think we can continue to get that some other time down the road. And then all you got left for Drew to go after is Roman. And you put that on a Mania card, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Drew was the MVP last year for me at points, or for the whole year for me, for some people at points. And Roman Reigns is Roman Reigns. That writes itself for me.
That's a great answer. How I would love to see them do it is form the Shield 2.0 or whatever people have been rumored about with Seth and Drew and KO. I think that would be a cool little feud between now and Mania, and then somehow, some way, you do get Drew and Roman butting heads at Mania 1-on-1. I think that would be a match that nobody thought they were going to see come the end of WrestleMania 40. And if they somehow pull that into WrestleMania 41, I mean, we're talking match of the year contender right there. But in terms of what he's going to do for the time being until then, I think it's going to be a lot of time off until WrestleMania, or until Rumble at the very least. And then we jump ship into that stuff. But yeah, Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre feud would be absolutely nuts. But let's move it on a little bit more with Bloodline, actually. Solo was actually part of that. I know people weren't very happy. A lot of people weren't happy in the IWC. Yeah. We were kind of one of them. As much as we love Roman, because he's Roman freaking Reigns, Solo has carried a lot of the SmackDown side of things for the past year. Great character work, created his own tribal chief character. Gets beat in the War Games, gets beat here. Nothing really more for him to do. What do you do with Solo now? He's no longer got the Ulafala. His Bloodline 2.0 has gotten beaten by Bloodline. He himself has gotten beaten by Roman. Where do you go from here with Solo?
Yeah, it's something that I guess I didn't think that I would see. I didn't think that original Bloodline would win War Games and Roman would get the win as well. Yeah. I thought Solo, kind of needed some real credibility. Now, you could say he's gotten the upper hand before, but it's still Roman Reigns, so it still would have been nice to continue to solidify Solo. But I think it kind of also plays into that kind of fake tribal chief character. Solo was most improved for me last year. Your MVP for last year. So Solo has been head and shoulders above where he was before. What's next? I think he kind of begins to maybe question himself. I think it's very important to note that, they talk about losing has consequences. So now I think it's time for Bloodline 2.0 to kind of turn on Solo, attack Solo, maybe as early as SmackDown this week. I don't know if it'll be that quick, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was. And then you kind of have that Solo redemption arc, and maybe he kind of finds his way back, admittedly, to maybe some Roman or some Jay or Jimmy, something of that nature.
You put it perfectly. The beginning of this Bloodline 2.0 thing was built off of the fact that losing has consequences. Losing now has consequences for Solo too, and I think that WWE would be very smart to capitalize on this newfound Solo Sakoa and their diamond in the rough, Jacob Fatu. I think what you do is you pivot, you have Bloodline 2.0 fall apart ASAP, and you get Jacob Fatu and Solo Sakoa rivalry going, and that could be a WrestleMania match, absolutely no doubt, that could really build both guys. Now, I don't know what you do with Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. They could just go away, I guess. They could do their own thing, float away. But yeah, I just think that Solo versus Jacob writes itself. And I think that's probably what they're gonna do. It just is the next logical thing with the way they're doing, with the way they've told their stories so logically. This just domino.
Yeah, in terms of Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, I guess it depends how much longer Tonga Loa's out.
Yeah.
I don't know how much longer he is out. If anything, you could pencil in the Usos versus them. Now, would I like that? No.
I don't think anybody would.
I don't think I would be a fan, but it's like you said, they are kind of the odd people out. So if you do have Solo going back, and if you have Drew versus Roman, then you kind of have Bloodline 2.0 outnumbering. You could do it that way, because I think Sammy gets tied up in some other stuff too.
Honestly, what you do with them is you have them continue to be Solo's lackeys. Just have Solo put them in their place, even when Bloodline 2.0 kind of tries to overthrow Solo. Solo can handle them by himself, because I mean, everybody handles them by themselves. So you can have Solo with Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu still wanting to attack Solo, so that weekly we have Jacob Fatu destroying Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, something of that nature, and then eventually he gets to Solo.
But I guess if Fatu attacks them, I think if Fatu attacks Solo, then they go with Fatu. I think that's important to know.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, Fatu doesn't need it. He's on his own is fantastic, and he's strong enough. But you kind of have those two guys. You got to do something.
Amen to that. Let's get away from Bloodline. There's a lot of stuff there. I mean, there's
depending on who you ask, some people like that, some people don't.
4 years of it. So chronologically, John Cena. Woo! John Cena, he came out. He's eyeing the Royal Rumble. We talked about it. We said give it to him. We said all that stuff. Is it a good idea to have John Cena win the Royal Rumble, though? Does it make logical sense? You've had back-to-back years where Cody Rhodes has won it, right? So we kind of already knew the main event after each WrestleMania, or the last two WrestleManias. We kind of knew it. We've known that Cody was going to win the last two. Would it feel like the wrong decision to just give John Cena this year's for another Mania moment that we all kind of want to see, instead of doing what Royal Rumble was meant to be, which is give somebody who's like on the edge of becoming a superstar the main event bump that they should get?
Yeah. Listen, if they want to go ahead and give John Cena that, I'm never going to say giving John Cena anything is a bad idea. I will fully support it. Now, is he going to be my pick? No. I think it's smart for them to kind of play off of how the crowd in LA really gave you the support, right? That's how everybody feels. Or I should say 90 to 95% of WWE fans is like, man, we want to give John everything. Give him everything. You want to win the Rumble? Yeah. Well, win the Rumble, and then win the Chamber, and then win the title at Mania, and then win the Money in the Bank and cash in on yourself.
Yep.
So you remain a champion, stuff like that. I think it's really important for Cena to kind of play off of that, especially in the Rumble. You get a lot of great moments, I think, with how long he's been there, the feuds that he's had. You can have old foes continuing to kind of show up throughout the Rumble match.
That'd be cool.
And then ultimately getting eliminated by one of those foes.
Yeah. Would it be a good idea? Yeah. You know why it'd be a good idea? Because everybody wants to see it. I just don't think that there are any stars that scream needing Rumble right now. Like, I think you're in a good position to give John Cena the Rumble match. Like, I don't think that, Drew's run his Rumble, and I mean, you could argue Seth Rollins, but I think that there are other ways to get Seth into the main event scene again, i.e. the Elimination Chamber, which people could also say same thing for John Cena, but we all know that like a Rumble win would elicit emotions like no other. And just like, other than Drew, other than Seth, other than Punk, I don't think that there's any guys behind there that are this close and deserving of a Royal Rumble bump quite necessarily, like LA Knight or Jey Uso. They're not main eventers in WrestleMania, right? So screw it. Give John Cena it. Let's have some fun with it. It would be the biggest pop in wrestling history, probably, when he eliminates the last guy. I mean, let the fireworks go crazy. It'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds fantastic. You know what also sounds fantastic, though? Like a low blow from Dirty Dom, and Dirty Dom eliminates John Cena.
Oh my God, did you see him talking about? Did you see his interview? He's like, I hate these old heads coming back and jumping on the train. He's like, you got The Rock and John Cena, and they just wanted to jump back in on the hype train. That's what he said. Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
Maybe we won't have to talk about this feud very much longer.
Yeah.
Because it's over, at least seemingly. We're about to get into that.
I did see a rumor that says that they're penciled in for Mania.
Yeah.
I saw that rumor today.
Yeah, we'll get into that one. But it was supposed to be the finishing touches on this freaking, it feels like year-long feud. It's not that long, but it feels that way. Rhea Ripley finally gets her title. But we kind of mentioned it on our Raw, and a lot of people on our Raw review, and a lot of people in the IWC are having the same sort of opinions on, like, this match ended in a way that doesn't feel like, where do we go from here? So let's start with our champion first. Where does Rhea Ripley go from here? To me, it feels like WWE on Raw specifically was so focused on Liv and Rhea's feud over the past 5, 6, 7 months that they kind of forgot to build any other woman on the Raw roster. So it feels like Rhea's now champion, whoop-de-doo. There's no one there for her to face. There's no one there for her to go face to face with and us to feel like it's a believable threat.
Yeah, I mean, you make a really good point. They really didn't do a great job of showcasing. To answer your question, where does Rhea go? I guess Rhea stays on top because mommy's always on top, right? Isn't that the catchphrase? You talk about them not building anybody up. The only person I can see specifically on the Raw brand to challenge Rhea Ripley is going to be Io Sky.
Yeah.
She doesn't need any build up. They've kind of built her up in a sense from previous number one contenderships or previous title runs, but that's somebody you can pencil in anytime, anywhere. I think they've already kind of hinted at that with some of the War Games stuff as well, some of the post-match conference stuff. And then eventually, I mean, if we're going to look way down the line, Bianca Belair, but that's not anytime soon. But
yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of just promo work. It's going to be a lot of her coming out, kind of the Sami Zayn way of being a champion for a little bit, coming out, reminding everybody that she's champion, kind of a John Cena-esque, if you want some, come get some. Hopefully, they throw some lambs at her, right? They get her fighting some talent that we haven't seen in a while. I wouldn't mind her fighting, throw Kairi Sane at her, throw, Lyra Valkyria if she doesn't end up winning the IC title, stuff like that. Give her the matches that we want to see. And then eventually I do think Io is going to be her first real challenger, whether that's at Royal Rumble or after it. I don't know. But hopefully they learn from Liv's reign. Let's not get into an immediate long-term story. Let's do some short stories to really get the ball moving for a lot of women so that you can build up more people.
Yeah, the matches we want to see, like a 1-on-3 handicap match versus PFC.
1-on-3 against PFC or 1-on-3 against Carlito, JD, and Dom. She could take them.
How dare you disgrace Dom?
I love Dom, but the way they've been booking him, she kicked him right in the nuts. Come on now.
I'm telling
right
you,
in his dirty Doms.
That PFC match is going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Some type of handicap match.
You're high if you think she ain't stacking all of PFC and pinning them. That would be so freaking, oh, Lord. Other side, Liv Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
Liv Morgan just got done with I don't know what it was, 6-month title run, something like that. Finally drops it to Rhea Ripley. She comes out of this, though, kind of with nothing to do as well. Her and Dom are seemingly pretty good. Like, they're good after the Raw ending. Where in the world does Liv go? Does she go try to challenge Rhea again? Are they going to enact the rematch clause that they seem to have once every blue moon? What's next for Liv Morgan?
Yeah. I guess there's kind of two things I want to see. And I guess I'd kind of put my foot in my mouth at a later thought, I guess, that I'll have. But you've got Liv on Raw here. I think if she stays on Raw, I think that's really important. If she stays on Raw, I think you get the returning Becky Lynch for some unfinished business. I personally, what I would like to see, I would like for her to use that transfer portal and go over to SmackDown. I would like to feud a little bit with Tiffany. It doesn't even have to be right away, but we got some Tiffany Liv drama, the battle over Dom, stuff like that. Now, I'm kind of over the love angles or whatever at some points, but I know Tiffany kind of hinted at cashing it on Liv, and you have that whole thing, and Tiffany's got her own stuff to deal with. But for me, I think it's really important to kind of separate those two. I'm kind of Liv and Rhea out at this point, so I would like to see Liv to kind of change over and then kind of give her a fresh start. I feel like it's probably needed almost as much as anybody on the roster, which feels weird to say considering she just had the title.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you for one. Don't have them interact at all anymore. No more Liv Rhea at all. I think they're probably going to do the Becky Lynch thing, like you said. It's been rumored for a while. Am I okay with that? Sure. For me, if she's going to stay on Raw, I would really like them to fully lean into the Lita Edge-esque-ness that her and Dom have, and maybe go after the IC titles, both of them. They both go for the IC titles. It's a brand new title. It's a way to build that title up big time, or at least she doesn't even need to win it. She could be a big challenger for the first winner, whether that be Dakota or Lyra, and she could really boost them up if she were to do the job for them. But to even see like Liv and Dom both be challenging for the IC titles and both failing at the same time or something like that, or succeeding, I just think that'd be a really fun thing to do on Raw. Like you said, I would like for them to go, her to go to SmackDown. I think that would be a much more interesting way, and it would be, if she stays on Raw, it's gonna feel very, you can see it and feel it and tangible that they've like are trying to keep Rhea and Liv away from each other. If you get her to SmackDown, that's just a natural way of doing it, and you don't have to worry about it at all. She can be involved in whatever stories on the program without worrying about bumping into this story and rehashing it.
Yeah, and we always talk about times that people kind of have ceilings at some point. Like if she continues to stay on Raw, which I think she honestly probably does, I don't really see them switching her brands. It's almost to the point that it's like, well, she's never going to, I guess, get to that point where she's ever going to be champion again as long as Rhea's champion, right?
Yes.
So it's like you're kind of maxed out on the Liv Morgan stuff. Like, she's only going to do this well. And that kind of sucks. So that's why I think that it would be smart for them to transfer brands. I don't think they will with her, though.
Yeah, I agree. A couple more here. It's going to be a little bit longer, but here we go. Seth Rollins, CM Punk. Big thing. Punk wins. Crazy. We have, the IWC has speculated all year. The day after WrestleMania 40 happened, we were all looking forward to WrestleMania 41. We're like, what are we doing? And all of us almost penciled in Seth Rollins, CM Punk. All of us did. Yep. What's next for Seth Rollins here? What's next for CM Punk? Are they going to meet again? Or is CM Punk going to go do his own champion stuff? Is Seth Rollins going to get involved with this? So what's next for Seth Rollins? Let's start with him.
Yeah. This is maybe the more complicated of the two, because admittedly, I thought that Rollins was going to maybe win that match, or I thought he probably should. Not in the sense of like Punk doesn't deserve it, but Rollins has kind of been on a pretty big losing streak, it seems like. So kind of would have liked some momentum for him. We talk about changing brands. It seems as if, everybody talks about the sword or the shield or however you want to call it. Moving over to SmackDown, if they continue to keep doing these transfer portal stuff, it would make sense for him to kind of go over there with Drew and Kevin and kind of just team up and run some roughshod over there. There's a lot of stories over there that I feel like haven't been explored yet with Seth Rollins. Now, there's some, obviously, that we've seen, like him and Cody and things like that, but it would kind of make sense for him to kind of get a fresh start as well. Originally I would have said the Bronson Reed stuff, but Bronson Reed's gone for a while. So you kind of have to pivot to something else. I don't see him challenging Gunther. He just lost, obviously. You think about the top guys on Raw, Punk just beat him. Priest is in stuff with Finn. So you're kind of like the odd man out. It would just make sense for him to kind of go over there.
I love Seth Rollins. I still want to see Seth Rollins CM Punk at WrestleMania. How he does it, I think he does somehow find himself in a pseudo faction with Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre. I think that is just the natural progression of that story. I think we're going to get some matches where it's Seth, Drew, KO taking on Cody, Jay, Jimmy, stuff like that, and Sammy. Hopefully come Chamber time, that stuff will kind of be settled. And then I hope that Seth Rollins finds himself in the Chamber match and wins it and gets a proper WrestleMania main event against CM Punk. I think they could easily headline night one. I think it'd be fantastic, but I don't think we're going to get any rehashment of Seth Rollins, CM Punk until a further date like that. So
yeah, you're kind of almost like you've got all these different ideas. Like I go with who I think is going to win the Chamber and Rumble in my head, and I play those out, and then I'm like, oh well, there's an odd man out here. There's an odd man out here, or if these things happen, then what's going to happen with this person? Like, It's a good problem to have with the top of the card, but it's also like, we thought we could pencil in this and this and this and this and this and this. And now it's like, it's unpredictable right now, especially after Raw, after Netflix. You're like, well, what really comes next, because we're hitting the gas pedal. We're going full steam ahead here.
Yeah. CM Punk, though. CM Punk has slayed every beast that's come his way. Drew McIntyre, done. Seth Rollins, done. It seems that the natural progression of the CM Punk story is going to be chasing that gold finally. Should CM Punk win the championship soon? Is that next up for him?
Natural progression storyline-wise, I guess I would say yes. But I look at the champion and I look at Gunther and I'm like, I don't know if CM Punk's taking that title off of Gunther. You look at, let's say he wins the Rumble potentially, but you look at like a Cody Rhodes, he's not taking the title off Cody Rhodes. So I'm like, what do you do? I think he challenges for it. I think is the progression that maybe we go. Now, I don't know what you do after that, because maybe that's a Rumble or maybe that's a Saturday Night Main Event thing. I know that's kind of somewhat coming up fast, but maybe that's where you get it. I don't know what you do, because it makes sense. And I think for Punk's sake, like, it makes sense for him to have the title so he can also have those dream matches. The same dream matches we talk about with John Cena, I think, are really important with Punk, because Punk's also getting up there with age. But with the current champions in the state that they're in, I don't see either of them dropping the title anytime soon.
It's hard because I love Gunther and I think that he's so talented and I want him to have a good old title reign that he deserves. But at the same time, I want to see the dream matches from CM Punk. And if you look at career longevity left, CM Punk does not have a lot of career left. I know he's here and he's doing really great work, but like Gunther has years and years and years. CM Punk only has, X amount of time. He can get injured tomorrow and kind of be out of it again. So I think that CM Punk should find a way to take that title off Gunther between now and Mania, and I think that he should finally get his Mania main event. I just think that guys like him and Rollins and Drew, like those stories revolving around Punk have been so hot, and so the crowd is so invested in them that, like, let's jump on it while everybody's healthy. Let's jump on it while we know it's going to be hot. Let's just do it after Mania, whether he drops it to Seth Rollins or he keeps it. Go ahead and rehash Gunther. I don't care. Get the belt back on whoever. But I just think that, like, the moment's now. So let's do it with him.
Yeah. And I talk about like Rumble or Saturday Night Main Event. Those are almost too quick. So it's like, okay, well, you look out. Chamber, I don't really see that happening at Chamber because you're kind of prepping for Mania. So for me, it's almost like if Punk does it, he has to do it at Mania. For me, though, it's just kind of tough to envision it. Yeah. Like maybe it's because Punk, had his first Raw match and however many, 10 years or whatever it was, or like he's really been putting in some great work, but how they built up Gunther, how they built up Cody, I'm like, well, do I really see that? And I don't know. Right now, right this second, if he were to challenge Gunther, I'd pick Gunther, but there's a lot of time between now and then. So,
you know what all this talk has me thinking? God damn, there's a lot of questions coming out of Raw. I mean, there's a lot of questions coming out of Raw. And like I said in our review, it feels like the road to WrestleMania officially began on Monday. I know Rumble's coming up in a few weeks. Cannot wait, and that's the official start. But it really feels like with the conclusions of the stories and stuff that we have building, in the background of it, we're starting it. It's here. A lot of stories are about to really kick off and fire. So it's a fun ass time in the good old wrestling.
Yeah. And we're in a spot right now that I think we haven't been in years, because there are so many questions. Yeah. And we are so like, well, you got this person, and if this person does this, then this person can't do this, but then you got this person that wants to do this, but it's good. It's a good problem to have.
It really is. And you know what's also good? I just want to shout out real quick while we're talking about the fallout of the Netflix show. It is the number one watched thing on all of Netflix in the United States. It beats Squid Game season 1 and 2.
Wow.
Wrestling is hot and it's fun. And I think that it's only one night into the Netflix, and that already proves that, like, hell yeah, people are interested in this stuff. It's going to be a way to build it. I'm just very excited about that. So Raw on Netflix is fun. It's going to keep on being fun. We'll be there. And you should come watch it with us on our live stream here on YouTube. It's on YouTube now. We're just streaming on YouTube. It's easy. Everybody already who's following us now, when we go live on Mondays and Fridays, come join our watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun. And follow us on all of our socials at COD WrestlePod, COD WrestlePod. Listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, etc. Share us with whoever you may think enjoys our stuff. We have a link tree in our bio. It has all of our socials. Go follow all of our socials. Comment on our stuff because we love talking to every one of you. And thank you for doing it. But I'm Will. That's Brandon. We are the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast, and we will see you next time.